The Second Amendment. Did I get your attention? A lot of people like to debate about the Second Amendment. We're not here to do that today, but the reality is that the Second Amendment is a thing, and though people debate whether or not it should be preserved or updated or abolished or anywhere in between, the reality is that in its current iteration and interpretation, there are a large amount of people throughout the country, coast to coast, that own firearms for various reasons, for hunting, for self-defense, for protection in the house. And the veteran demographic, anyone that knows veterans, is no exception. Most veterans own a firearm. That's a pretty bold statement. Most veterans own a firearm. Considering how many veterans we have in the United States, we get about 250,000 more veterans off of active duty every year transitioning out. That's quite a bit. Over 50% of them own firearms. And on average, they own 7 of them. Not just one. They average 7. Not saying that's bad, not saying that's good. No, that is a fact. About 33% of veterans own a firearm that's in their home right now that's loaded. And 70% of veteran deaths by suicide are via a firearm. Veteran suicide obviously being a very, very real problem in our community, in our demographic. So clearly, not wanting to infringe upon what people interpret to be their constitutional rights as Americans, there still needs to be a balance. How do we not infringe upon those rights while still keeping folks safe that may be in danger, that have access to those firearms at a time when it might not be safe for them to have access to safe firearms? There's some sobering statistics here. And again, I'm not here to debate the Second Amendment. It was the first thing I said because, that's what I do to get you sucked in. But today we're talking with 2 awesome people who are doing awesome work. We're going to be talking about Wisconsin's Gun Shop Project and Safe Storage Program. Their motto is live today, put it away. And it is a program that has been saving lives in the state of Wisconsin. And it bridges that gap between the right to own firearms and veteran and military family members that may be in situations where that's not a safe thing. It gives the veterans and the military family members and their friends and loved ones the opportunity to remove someone who may be in danger from access, or remove access from them to save a life. Because the reality is, and let me bring this statistic up, this is really important. Over 50% of suicides are not due to a mental health disorder. And if someone is going through a crisis, which happens to all of us, there may be a feeling of hopelessness while in that moment, and separation from that moment in the moment may save their life. That's a reality of the situation. So today we actually have 3 guests on the show today that I'm very, very excited to talk to. Susan Smikle, Mark Flower, Chris Swift. If you're involved in this community in the state of Wisconsin, you know who these people are. If you're on Facebook and you're involved in the veteran community, you definitely know who Mark Flower is, that's for sure. These are experts that are doing great work. They're doing it through the Captain John D. Mason Foundation, their Veteran Peer Outreach Program. I'm very excited to talk about this important program that is saving lives in the state of Wisconsin and can be emulated in other states. It should be. But we're going to talk about where this came from, how it works, how it saves lives, and what we can do to help develop it further. We're going to do it right after this. Your success is our primary mission. Hi, everybody. I'm Adam with the Wisconsin Veterans Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to our weekly office hours live. And enough from me. Susan, Mark, Chris, my friends, how are all of you doing today?
Doing well, thank you.
I am awesome, Adam. Thank you for the wonderful introductions about us.
You betcha. Yeah, my pleasure. Well, let's go around in a circle. Quick introduction, who you are, what you do, who you do it with. Why don't we start with Susan? We can go clockwise.
Sure. I am Susan Smykel with the Captain John D. Mason Veteran Peer Outreach Program. I help coordinate all of our events where we go out into the community and look for veterans to ensure they are connected with VA or healthcare to help prevent veteran suicide.
Outstanding. Thank you for all you do, Susan, and all you do through the Captain John D. Mason Foundation. Y'all are fantastic. Pillars of the community for sure. Mr. Flower, Mark, introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mark Flower. I am a peer supporter for the Captain John D. Mason program, and also a big advocate of our Live Today, Put It Away program, and been involved in the veterans community for, long time. And really a big advocate for suicide prevention and all that stuff that is unfortunately an issue within our veterans community.
Right on. Well, I appreciate all the work you do, Mark, as well. Chris, Mr. Swift, let's get to know you a bit.
My name's Chris Swift. I was in the Army medic. I was one of those people that transitioned poorly, and this program kind of helped me get back on my feet as a peer support specialist, and hoping to be able to share my story more and make sure that other veterans do not follow in my footsteps with that. But we go around, we do programs, and we talk to vets, try to get them involved in the VA and let them know the programs that are there and how to use them. And I use a lot of the programs at the VA, so they can kind of use me as a source of information.
Right on. Absolutely. And I think that's a really good point, that we talk about. Transition's a hot topic. Everybody loves to talk about military transition, but it's always in the context of employment. Everybody talks about, you do your transition, you get a gig, transition over, right? But what they don't understand, especially if they're on the outside looking in, is that transition is a upheaval of your entire life, to include your mental health. And there are folks that are in transition from military service to, becoming a civilian and reintegrating into the civilian workforce in the civilian world, that during that period of time, it can be tenuous and it can be dangerous, So transition obviously being a period of time where people could be in danger. But I mean, we all have ups and downs, and we all have times of hopelessness and whatnot, which is where this kind of came from. So why any three of you can chime in. Where did this Live Today, Put It Away program come from? What was the impetus behind that?
Sure, I can speak to that. The program was started in Wisconsin by Chuck Lovelace. He is lead gunsmith and owner of Essential Shooting Supplies, along with Safe Communities, Madison-Dane County. After a veteran purchased a firearm from his shop, and then shortly thereafter used it to die by suicide. And Chuck, it happened again, second time shortly thereafter as well. He and his family were distraught. They reached out to Safe Communities, Madison-Dane County, were put in touch with Jean Papalia, and she introduced him to the program that was actually taking place in New Hampshire, called the Gun Shop Project, where you provide gun shop owners and ranges with suicide prevention materials and education so that they can give their customers handouts and information on suicide prevention, have it readily available, and open up that discussion. Then the other part is, Chuck said there was another needed portion that we didn't have, and that was the safe storage. He said, I would want to be able to hold these for any veteran who is in a temporary crisis. Voluntarily, they come to me and I'll be happy to do it. And he has done so. So that's kind of how that started. And they just literally didn't have the manpower to reach out to other gun shops in the state. And as our program, part of suicide prevention, with Dr. Berger at the VA, we kind of took on this project to bring it to all of Wisconsin's gun shop ranges, firearm retailers. Our goal is to have 1 to 2 firearm dealers per county in the state of Wisconsin signed up.
And so how does this work then? Maybe we can have Mark answer this one, or Chris. How does it work? So a gun shop owner makes a commitment to store these firearms on the short term for a veteran or a military family member that may be in danger. Logistically, how does that work out?
Well, what would happen would be that, first of all, they would fill out an application, so we get their information, and then also their willingness, and we would share a bunch of information back at them, and also the contract. Of course, it's kind of a contract, kind of a scenario where they sign and say, yes, we agree to do this. Again, I'd like to really point out that it is voluntary. It's voluntary not only from the gun shop business owner, but also the veteran that would be possibly storing their firearms at the gun shop that is close to their home, which is ideally, like Susan was saying, our ultimate goal is two shops per county, or a shop and a range that provides storage in the area, to where they could then safely store their firearms with no worry of repercussions, and then being able then to, when the crisis, would say, if it's in a crisis scenario, when the crisis is over, they can kind of go back and just retrieve their firearm. 30, 60, 90 days is kind of the time frames. It's kind of an agreement between the firearm owner or the veteran and their weapons, and the gun shop owner or the range that stores firearms or weapons, to go 30, 60, 90 days, depending on the circumstance or situation. And then when it's all done, the veteran can come back and retrieve their firearms. So again, I guess the most important part is voluntary. It's not a mandatory thing. And we all know, because of the Second Amendment, as you were pointing out, as part of your introduction with us, is that really it's voluntary on both ends. It's not one of those things that are mandated, mandatory, law enforcement involved, none of that. It's two individuals, or a business and individual, creating that contract for 30, 60, 90 days to kind of cover a crisis moment, which again, as pointed out by you, and Sue touched on it, that a lot of the crisis is not even mental health related. It just is one of those living life on life's terms kind of moments, which then kind of cause or create a situation where one might contemplate and then actually follow through and die by suicide.
Absolutely.
If I could piggyback on that, I would just say that when we reach out to these gun shop owners, we supply them with a packet of information for them to provide this service to their customers in their community. It has everything in there for them, materials put together by the National Shooting Sports Foundation, who partnered with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, as well as other pamphlets put together by Safe Communities Madison-Dane County. So they have information in their shops available. You know, a veteran could see it. They have posters that they could put on their walls, but we provide them with that information. A veteran who is looking to, maybe remove themselves from their firearm temporarily can go to the www.betherewis.com website, which is Wisconsin's Veteran Suicide Prevention Task Force website. There's an interactive map. So as these gun shops sign up, they do agree to be placed on this map so they can be found. So any veteran can just go to that website without anyone else knowing. It's personal, upon them. Go to the website, look for that gun shop or range that's closest to them. They call them, they set up a time to come in, and they meet privately with that gun shop owner. We don't have any part of it. As I said, we just provide the gun shops and the ranges with the materials to provide the service to their customers.
What if the person has hesitancy about there being a written record of that, whether it be for legal issues or medical issues, or they just don't like being tracked? Is it pretty much off the grid?
No, they have to follow FFL guidelines, as
And
they
what is
would.
that?
They have to have a record of every firearm in their store. So they have a book. There's a contract we give them that the veteran could state if they want 1, 2, or 3 months to hold it. And then they agree that they would not pick up that firearm prior to the date that they both agreed upon at the time they, took it in to store it. But that is the gun shop owners, they have their guidelines by FFL for their license, and they have to follow those. So it is in their books. And then when they come pick it up, they do their safety check and they can have that released.
Right on. And pretty much anyone. Oh, go ahead, Chris. It looks like you got something to add.
Oh, I was just to kind of caveat on that. The primary, one of the primary purposes is when people decide that they are going to that they want to die by suicide. They have the thought, and then there's the act. In between there is the impulsivity. The longer we can stretch that impulsivity, the less likely they are to attempt to die by suicide. So if we can stretch it from 10 seconds to 30 seconds, 30 seconds to 3 days, 3 days to 30 days, the longer the better. That way, like Mark was saying, the crisis time frame is shorter, or is the crisis, it's given the crisis enough time to get through that.
And the
Adam, ironically, that there's a 5-second window where that impulsivity would be the actual act. And the whole idea of this is to kind of stretch all that out. So, and in the same aspect, and that we hope that veteran does get some of the help that they need to where they start working through some of that stuff. So it becomes less of an issue to where it doesn't become an issue at all.
That's a good point. That they use the same principles when it, or at least theoretically, when it comes to gun violence, not self-inflicted stuff, but the period of time between the thought or the impulse and the actual action, the longer that is. And I think maybe that's kind of the thought behind universal background checks or a background check period, so people aren't in the heat of a moment purchasing a firearm and then using it in a way that everyone would regret later on. And now this program has already started in Wisconsin and already started saving lives. Can you talk a little bit about that? And do you find that the veterans are self-forfeiting, or are their spouses or loved ones sometimes forfeiting the weapon on their behalf? Is that something that they can even do? Can you tell us about how the program has manifested so far since its inception up until this point?
Go ahead, Susan.
Well, I can say that for Chuck, in the last several years, he said he's probably only had about, in the last 3 years, he's only had about 9 different veterans or family members reach out to him to store firearms. So
not only 9, those are 9 lives saved and 9 families, and that's big.
Correct. So I stand corrected on how I said that. You're exactly right. And he said, there were cases where it wasn't the potential for harm to themselves. He's actually even held guns when they have had floods and, someone was in a dire situation of a different need and has done that. But those 9 lives, and he'll say this, he has no idea, potentially saved every 9 of those. Right. Just don't know.
And as far as the spouses are concerned, they do got to kind of do it with the consent of the firearm owner. So if it was my firearm or my weapon, and my wife wanted, I'm not married, but I'm just using my wife as an exaggeration example, that would want to go store for me, I would have to give them permission to do that. So I mean, so not only is it voluntarily giving up their firearm or their weapon to the gun shop to hold it for them, but if a family member was going to do that, they would also have to do that with their family member, who then would take it to and store it in that way. So, I mean, but in the end, it's all voluntary. And I guess I can't stress that enough. It's not mandatory. It's not whatever. It's just about
a legal seizure of your firearm.
Right.
So if you were in a dangerous situation, or maybe your spouse thought you were in a dangerous situation, they couldn't take your gun and go plunk it into a safe at one of these shops, could they? Or could they if they thought you were in danger?
Legally, no.
Okay, so it has to be voluntary by the owner.
Yeah, it's got to be a kind of a willing thing on all ends, really.
And I
Right
think
on.
one of the things that is important with it is that now veterans are getting the idea there's the option of being able to do that. So they have like this fallback plan where, all right, if I am in crisis, I have a plan. Because in the military, they taught us, you always have to have your plan. You have to have a backup plan. And this way you have measures in a set before you that all right, if I'm getting a little off, maybe I need to put my gun somewhere where I'm not going to do anything that I regret. So it's kind of like a safety net almost as well.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
safety plan.
And if I may add to that, the Gun Shop Project Safe Storage Program isn't the first go-to. There are so many more options to securing a weapon, a firearm, gun safe. We'll certainly recommend giving your gun to a fellow veteran, a friend of yours, or a family member. Have them hold it for you temporarily. Lock it in a safe. Give someone else the combination, or lock it up and give someone else the key. I mean, those would be the first choices. But this program, for someone who doesn't feel they have someone they could trust, they have the ability to contact a shop on their own, unbeknownst to their family or anyone else, and store it temporarily, is truly ideal.
Absolutely. And I think it's incredible that you've already been able to impact not just those 9 lives, but the lives of all of their family members and loved ones that could have been impacted by a tragedy. So far, what a great program with a great impact. What does the future look like? I mean, are you hoping to expand further, expand program offerings, just get it into every gun shop in the state of Wisconsin? What's your vision for a perfect future with this?
Well, I could answer that. I mean, we're going to take over the world with this idea. That being said, of course, is we're looking for all. Again, our goal is two gun shops, or a gun shop at a range at gun storage in every county in the state. And we've been reaching out and ironically talking with the governor's challenge, who's also took this message, and a WDVA, or Wisconsin Department of Veterans Affairs, is really looking at this and trying to figure out how helpful they can be. And there's actually a bill in our legislature that I wish I could remember the bill name. I should have had that wrote down.
SB 200.
Thank you, Susan.
She's on it.
But they're actually looking at trying to figure out how to help organizations provide some resources for gun shops that want to do this service, to then provide them possibly with a gun safe for that specific purpose as we move forward with this. And we are a small team, so we've also been working with our county veteran service officers throughout the state and asking them to become kind of an advocate for us within their counties. And hopefully that through this networking and the WDVA and American Legion throughout the state, and even BFW, that we have them kind of refer to gun shops they feel that may be pertinent to this whole idea, or are able to introduce us to them. So our small team, we've been waiting 5 years. It may take that long for us to finally get to every gun shop in the state of Wisconsin, whereas we have some ambassadors, for lack of a better way, out there in the state that advocate for us, so that we can then, as a referral, would narrow the search down greatly and eliminate us cold calling per se. We've been introduced in a lot of ways. So ironically, through your organization, if there are any gun shops out there that may be interested in this, or know some gun shops out there that may be interested in this, we would love to have you be an ambassador for us to go talk to them about it, and then see if they may be interested, and have them send them our way.
Absolutely. So I think that's a good segue. If somebody wants to learn, if you're a gun shop owner that wants to become part of this safe storage program, or if you are a veteran who needs safe storage, where do they go to learn more about this and to get the ball rolling?
Absolutely. So the suicide prevention, Wisconsin's Veteran Suicide Prevention Task Force website is www.betherewis.com. We have our interactive gun shop storage map there. We have all of our handouts that we supply gun shop owners with, or the majority of the handouts that we supply them with. We have information on how the program started. We have Chuck Lovelace's introduction letter to fellow firearm dealers. So they can go there, they can view the PDF packet that we supply our gun shop owners with when we're sharing information. We have an introduction letter. So they can go there, they can contact us at the Captain John D. Mason program at mcw.edu, and we can email this packet of information to them. We can share any information. So either our website, either our email, the betherewis.com website. We'll be happy to give them any information.
Right on. So that's, I got it scrolling there in a ticker there along the bottom, betherewis.com for more information. That's for gun shop owners and for veterans who might be in crisis or feel like they could potentially be in a crisis situation. So what would you say to a veteran who may be in a situation where they might be feeling frightened, lonely, hopeless, unsupported, and may have had suicidal ideations or thoughts, that owns a firearm? What would you say to them?
Well, I think to start off, you kind of want to build a rapport with that individual, so they're more willing to answer questions and stuff like that. Just open up, just any kind of dialogue, just to get them talking, get them comfortable, be a very good listener, give them reflective listening. So what they say, just kind of repeat it back so you know you're on the same page. But just be somebody there that, you said unsupported. One thing about the veteran community is I don't think there's any community in the universe that takes care of each other better than the veteran community.
Right.
The veteran community, this happened to us. Like, look at the Vietnam vets. When they came home, they were treated terribly. When the Iraq and Afghanistan vets come home, treated like heroes. Not that everybody deserves that, but still, it's like the veteran communities taking care of each other. So if you can just build that rapport, hey, you're not unsupported. I'm here to support you. We've got other people that'll support you, but just let them know they're not alone. Let them know that you will always have an ear. You'll always listen to them. Like, be there with WIS. That's just be there. That's half the battle. If you're there, and then they know they're not alone. So now they know they have a brother or sister in arms.
I had a personal story. I had a buddy of mine that was in a crisis situation, and he had a firearm on his person, and I didn't know about this program. It was a while back, so maybe the program didn't exist, but I didn't know about it. Had I done, I would have followed the old Air Force suicide prevention model, the Ask, Care, Escort, ACE. You got to have an acronym for everything. So
Yep.
But Ask, Care, Escort. I would have taken arm in arm and taken him to a gun shop and had him hand over his firearm, But at the time, I didn't know what to do. So in panic, I called a buddy who had dealt with that sort of thing. He said, you call the police, have him chat with him. It was the only thing that I thought I could do at that moment. But in hindsight, if somebody's in a crisis situation, calling the police seems like an escalation. And, it ended up working out for him. He was safe. He didn't get in any trouble. He got the help he needed. And he's still alive and on this earth and a contributor to his family and his community right now. So, I'm very grateful for the police officer and the way he handled it that day. But it doesn't always, you can't predict how a crisis situation will go. And I think that's why the voluntary aspect of this program is so vital to it. Does anyone want to speak on that? Do you have any personal anecdotes or any personal, and obviously you don't have to use names or whatever, but any stories that you want to tell about people that have been impacted by this and how, or could have been impacted by it had they known it existed?
Well, yeah. In fact, I unfortunately had a few friends that have decided that in the moment dying by suicide was a solution to a lot of what was going on in their life, and which unfortunately, but fortunately, really kind of set me off on this mission of that, trying to figure out and try to prevent suicide is very important to
Mm.
me. Um, some were by firearms, and some were by other means, and I think if this program would have been out there and I knew about it or was aware of it, even though it wasn't back in those days, but if it would have been and I would have been aware of it, I would have definitely tried to talk them into taking that their lethalist means. Because I mean, firearms are probably the most lethalist means of suicide there are. And try to get them to store their firearms somewhere else. I mean, to me, it probably could have saved some lives. And and in the work I kind of do and have been doing too. So I'm very happy that this is out there today, and we're moving forward with this idea. And there's other parts of the country that are also working on the same issue as we are. And my hope is that eventually we do manage our goal of two gun shops or a gun shop and a range per county that stores firearms, because I firmly believe that it will save lives. It will, talking about the lives, not only would it save the lives, but unfortunately, suicide does ripple, and then that
Mm-hmm.
is, statistically speaking, there's about 100 people that are affected by a suicide as it ripples out. So, I mean, that's a lot of tragedy and trauma, and I'm sad that that can be eliminated. And ultimately, that would be, I hope what this program does is start eliminating a lot of that devastation, for lack of a better way of saying it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I
Go ahead, Chris.
I think that with this program, I don't have an exact example per se, but like I've had like Mark, I've had friends that made that permanent decision for a temporary problem,
Mm-hmm.
and it's difficult because everybody's always questioning what did I miss, why didn't I see this, why you going back and forth.
Right.
But with the actual program out there, one of the big things is veterans don't like giving up control. So like when we were in the military, we were taught our weapon, you don't give that up to anybody.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
that's a learned behavior, and it's kind of hard when we transition from the military world to the civilian world. It's not like, hey, you go to this class for 20 minutes, you're going to be perfect over there. Like
Right.
that doesn't always translate into positive experiences in the civilian world. But our program hopefully gets people to understand that there is something out there that, like I said before, that they're not unsupported, and that giving up that control and being vulnerable for that time to get better is truly a courageous sacrifice.
Absolutely.
Too many times they're stigmatized. Oh, you got to go get help. Oh, something's wrong with you. Oh, you're weak. It's like we're trying to turn the tables on that, where it's like, man, you are unbelievably courageous to give up your weapon for the betterment of you, your family, and those closest to you.
Absolutely. Well said, Chris. I appreciate the work all of you are doing. All of you. This is an important program, and I'll do everything I can to help spread the word about it. Live Today, Put It Away, Wisconsin's gun shop project and safe storage program. Folks, you're saving lives, and you're going to continue to save lives and livelihoods for veterans and their family members moving forward. I can't thank you enough. Anybody have some closing thoughts? Anything that we didn't touch on that you want to make sure people know?
I think
Adam, I want to thank you and the Wisconsin Veterans Chamber of Commerce for having us on and talk about what we're trying to do with our programs.
My pleasure.
And I do appreciate you all. And any gun shops out there that are interested, please reach out to us, because we'd be more than happy to talk with you and sign you up.
Get y'all signed up. Chris, you had something too?
Yeah, I wanted to say thanks for having us, Adam. But just to get the word out there that nobody out there is alone.
Yeah.
Like the veteran community is the strongest community and will always be out there to help each other. Don't, if you don't have like some immediate person, go to a vet center, go to the VA, go to any vet centric thing that's going on, and there will be somebody there that'll help you. You can contact us, and there's other services too, but you're not alone. You're not unsupported. We are here. We got your six.
Well said, Chris. And you may feel alone or unsupported in that moment, but the truth is you are definitely not. Our whole community is here to rally around you. We take a bullet for you downrange, and we do it here.
That's a fact.
We would, well, it's a bad analogy, but we would stand in the way of danger for you downrange, and many of you have. But we would do it for you here. We would do whatever it takes to save you your life and your livelihood. Susan, do you have any parting thoughts?
I just want to say that many of the gun shop owners are veterans themselves. They're experts in their field. They're trusted. They're there to listen. Steve DeRazio from Max Creek Outdoors, who was on our live panel the other day, shared how he talked to a veteran for 2 hours just to help them get through something. This is why this program is so important. Your gun shop owners, they care about their customers. They care about veterans. They're there for you. This is a voluntary program. Please sign up. Please contact us or go to Be There With. You can even sign up online on the BeThereWith.com website, or you can contact us. But please offer this service to your customers and your community. Your veterans need you. Your community needs you. We know that you're there for your customers, and our veterans trust their local gun shops. So important for you to join this movement.
Right on, Susan. I appreciate the three of you. I'll ask Susan, Chris, Mark, for you to hang on the line just for a second while I close up shop here. Man, what a great program. What an incredible program. What great people that are doing very important work here in the great state of Wisconsin to help save veteran lives and livelihoods and their family members and their communities as well. What Susan mentioned at the end there stuck with me, how a gun shop owner talked to a veteran for 2 hours to just help him through an issue, and not only through a crisis, and not only was there a resolution at the end by the sounds of it, but as Chris had mentioned earlier and Mark had mentioned earlier, the longer that period of time is between the ideation and the action, the less likely the action is one of those that is a final and irreversible and unfortunate and tragic action. And putting 2 hours between that ideation and action with a friend, a supporting person there, like, my goodness, talk about that is saving a life. That 2 hour conversation is legit. I mean, that is like CPR for the soul. That just came to me. I'm going to trademark that. CPR for the soul. Trademark, Wisconsin Veterans Chamber. It's got to be a Veterans Chamber trademark because I did it on the clock, But yeah, CPR for the soul. I like that. Get in touch with these folks. BeThereWisconsin.com, and your friendly neighborhood local gun shop owner, make sure they sign up for this too, because they could also save a life or lives or livelihoods. And appreciate you watching. We'll see y'all next week.